lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And also subscribe to my second channel, Nathan Oakley. After this live stream finishes, the first show, if you were a little bit of a late riser, will get rebroadcast on my second channel, Nathan Oakley, so hit the link in the info box below this video to subscribe and catch the premiere, which also includes the pre-show, so subscribe to Nathan Oakley. Now, we are joined by The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Jose, Flat Earth Vegan Goy, Chocolate Saiyan, Arwin, and Apollo. Good to have you all.
Hey.
Good morning.
We've also got
Yo,
Daniel.
yo.
How you doing,
Good morning.
Daniel? Can you hear us?
Hello. What?
Our new guest. Hey, Daniel.
Skype.
Hello, Daniel.
Hey, Nathan, how are you?
Good to have you. Very well, thank you. Did everyone get to say hello? Hello.
Yo.
Good morning.
Hopefully we'll have a slightly less than an hour-long housekeeping this time. Any signs of curvature?
No.
No.
Anybody at all?
No.
Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, Ranty?
Nope.
No.
Negative.
Nope.
Any evidence of the distance to the Sun?
There is no distance to the Sun.
No.
What is the sun?
Good question.
Somebody got some music.
No.
in the background.
What about any evidence that you can have a gas pressure, for all those people who believe in the vacuum of space, without a container?
No.
Nope.
Not even in theory.
Nope.
Any
out
scientific
to
evidence of
Catz.
gravity, maybe? Scientific evidence of gravity, anybody?
Nope.
No. Aberrations,
Shut up.
suggestions, but it's not a unified
Shut
thing.
up.
No, I'm not shutting up.
There's no
Oh
such
god,
thing as
we're nearly there.
aberration.
We're so
Yeah, there
nearly
is.
there. Two
No,
more
there's
to
not.
go.
Yeah, you already admitted it.
God.
Is that where they terminate the baby?
No.
No, aberrations are different phenomena.
What I admitted, Alvin.
Suggest a unified thing, but it's not really provable. So that makes it an aberration. It's very simple.
What I admitted, Alvin, was that there may be something else going on, but I didn't admit that in the context of aberrations.
Well, that's fine. But this is what it is.
There are no aberrations,
Yeah,
Alvin.
there are. All the
In your mind.
things that I suggested that actually happen, axial alignment shift of the density layers, all that when forces are applied, these are all elements, all pointing
No
at a
forces.
unified force,
No
disequilibrium
forces.
downwards, but it's just suggestive. That makes it an aberration, a ghost, a suggestive
if you
thing that's not really there.
Do we have to send out the people with white coats again? Because I will. I'll send them.
Well, that's fine. I'll explain it to them.
Please revisit the old Flat Earth debate shows. Arwin with word salad about gravity since early shows. Boom.
There's
Well,
more
and
words
I'll
salad
still
about
say-
on this topic
The
than
only
there is
thing
any
that
more.
changes is the declaration that it must be a unified.
Shout out to Alicia Champagne for the super chat. Any signs of Jimmy and his voice changer? Classic, indeed.
Now then,
Yeah, Jimmy with his voice changer.
Yeah, Jimmy with his voice changer. That was comical. So also a massive shout out to Flat Earth Audio, who reverse engineered his voice changer. That was brilliant. So let's
Shut up.
I'm going to use
Shout out
that
to
little
Jimmy.
gap, right? Thank you very much, Alicia. That's just what I needed to get through the end of housekeeping. So, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Paul Voigt.
Oh,
No.
Or
Do
Voigt?
you know what we should do?
No.
Instead of answering no all the time, we should just answer the names of the people that these comments exist in the housekeeping because of.
No.
If people ask us why aren't we answering with a yes or no, then we can explain it to them over again.
Then housekeeping takes a lot longer that way.
No, but we just say, like, is there any evidence of a molten iron core? And then we say Paul Voigt. That's all we've got
Exactly.
to say.
That's what I hoped for.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
we
want to
didn't
do
even
that. I don't want to honor them. It's just no.
we didn't even make it
Oh, I
through
do.
housekeeping last
It's an
show
honour.
almost. I mean, it was like
Shame.
the last minute.
Shaming them, not honouring them. So yeah, I mean, we'll plug this because we discussed this at length on the last show. So if you want to tune into Nathan Oakley channel, I'm going to plug it a few times. I won't do this every show, but just on this one. So tune into Nathan Oakley and you'll hear the pre-show where we discussed, it was an hour-long housekeeping, and we essentially attributed all the different names of the people who have failed to answer the housekeeping questions. So people like Rumpus for the R value, and people like, or was it Gravity? My bad. Gravity would be attributed to the Rumpus, and you've got Paul Voigt obviously attributed to the molten iron core, gas pressure without a container attributed to conspiracy cats, distance to the sun attributed to paper explanator, Gem Panda attributed to the curvature, you name it. So we can just shout their names out and say, well, where's Gem Panda with the proof of curvature?
Well, he's not going to make an appearance again, is he? He still
Well,
pushes that thing that he still won't admit that he might be wrong with regards to what he claims against me, despite being shown it. And it's like, well, he's not going to come back in because that's the first thing we're going to ask him about.
Well, let's have a who's got a good memory quiz with the last housekeeping question and see if this format works. So,
Any proof
any
of that?
evidence of the R value, Earth radius, gentlemen?
No.
Red's rhetoric.
No.
So yeah, maybe Red Rhetoric, if you're out there and you've got some evidence of that R value you got raped with, then maybe you could present that. I hear you back on the scene. Lovely. Doors always open.
Bitch.
wasn't that the question you asked Rumpus like 100 times for the R value?
Probably.
Wasn't that one of those questions?
That's been definitely topped by Conspiracy Cats, who I think I asked 237 times for evidence of gas pressure being maintained without a container.
Yeah, so I mean, it's silly, but if you know these big, massive vacuum chambers, the one particularly where they did the feather dropping at the same rate as the brick, I mean, that's the size of like a grain silo. It's huge, that thing. Can you imagine having that vacuum, right, and then trying to get 10 psi or 3 psi in a bubble in the middle? I mean, it's never ever going to happen, but that's what you've got to believe if you believe that we live on a ball.
And there's space beyond that ball.
And force, still force applied, even if you assume gravity is a force. You can simulate this in a huge centrifuge that goes in astronomically fast. Still, a vacuum will not start to appear at the center of it because entropy just trumps any other type of force.
Absolutely, entropy's a bitch if you're a globehead. Shout out to Johnny for the 79 pence. Much obliged. Really appreciate the support. I didn't know you could put 79 pence into a super chat.
I think if you put in $1, that's the conversion, isn't it?
Ah, right, okay. So it puts it in pounds now. Oh, great. Cool.
So where were we?
I think I was plugging my second channel and the premiere of the uncut show that's just been broadcast live in case
we've
anybody
definitely
didn't
done that
watch it. I'm sure that's where we were at. No? Clearly not.
No, we've done it. We've done it. Let's move on.
Okay, fine. So we also discussed Conspiracy Cats on the show that will premiere just after this one finishes. So yeah, if you want to know about Conspiracy Cats and just how wrong he is and how he's a bleeding victim, then you can check that out too.
I just want people to realise that Conspiracy Cats has completely misrepresented Ranty's boat thing last night on Non-Sec. If you haven't seen it, go and check it, and it's terrible. To completely misrepresent it gives one of three scenarios. Either he's stupid, and he's not stupid, so that's not one of the possible ones. Or it is possible, but not likely. He knows it's a misrepresentation and does it anyway, so that would be recklessness. Or he does it intentionally to deceive the non-sequitur audience to think that Ranty somehow has debunked flat Earth. And it's it's one or the other, but I can't understand why you would make these silly assertions and then make other assertions to do with Polaris, then produce zero evidence for other than a diagram, and then claim that it's the same. And then when I present evidence that shows that the stars don't move at the same rate that he thinks that they do, that debunks his whole arguments, which inadvertently supports ours. As the stars get to the horizon, it's because they're getting further away from you, not because they're going around a ball or the Earth's rotating or whatever. It's because the stars are going further away from you. If they weren't going further away from it, it would be a constant speed. So shout out to Mick West for pointing that one out, mate. Well done. You've just proved that it's a flat plane.
Yeah, I'd like to quote the rumpus in chat. Riley, you are a moron. Conspiracy Catz accurately represented Ranty's boat video. You utter moron.
Is that what he's put?
No, Rumpus, you're a liar. That is not what Conspiracy Catz did. I played it. So you either didn't see it or you're doing exactly what Conspiracy Catz did, which is misrepresenting what's really happening. So either way, you're a liar, Rumpus, because you know what the position is. The boats don't go over the horizon. Whatever happens to the boats seems to be caused by the angle of attack that you seem to be ridiculing.
Sorry,
we don't quite understand why it does it, but it certainly seems to be doing it. So whatever's going on, Rumpus, it's not down to the boats dropping behind the curve that you morons profess that it is.
Yeah, you had a juxtaposition there, which I forgot to point out on the last show. So you say going over the horizon. What is the horizon exactly, Anthony?
It's an imaginary point where the sky appears to meet the sea.
So boats go over an imaginary point where the sky apparently meets the sea, or land, or whatever else is in your focal range.
Apparently.
Right, so it's going over an imaginary line.
Apparently.
Right, and they say that imaginary line's the curve of the Earth?
That's what they say.
And how do they get to the conclusion that that's the curve of the Earth? Would it be with an assumption of R and a calculator?
I think it was to do with some bloke that had sticks in the ground. Their version of Jesus.
Oh, right. So see a shadow on a light in the sky, decide the Earth is a sphere, and go from there. Always assume R from there on in whenever making any measurements. Insert it where it is not. And then you've got sphere proof all over the place, right? No. Affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, begging the question on steroids. These people are fallacious and religious. They just have belief in R.
Praise Helios. Praise Aristophanes. He's the son of Helios.
Praise R. Radius Dominus Gravitas Spiritus Sanctus R win. Go in peace, globeheads, in R you trust.
So, what is this stuff about Aperture? Does Aperture dictate how far you can see with a lens?
What dictates? I didn't quite catch that. You're a bit muffled for some reason. I don't know if you're on the wrong mic.
Let me check.
I think there's a correlation with his muffleness and his drunkenness.
He's allowed to be drunk. Nothing wrong with that. It's weekend.
Yeah, you're not on that microphone. Tap that again. Nope,
No,
that's
you're
not
not
your
on that
active microphone. Nope.
Yeah, that's the one you're on.
Oh.
Yeah. just cog settings and hang out. Just change it.
Yeah. Oh, you're drunk.
Let me...
He's literally just fallen over. Oh no, it's the mic. It was the camera.
1 second.
Yeah, you need to swap your mic over. No.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, it's still the wrong mic.
Yeah, go into the settings and hang out.
We can see you, we can hear you. So
Okay, so this one is just...
you're too close to the mic.
Just talk into the camera. Just look at the camera and talk to that, because that's actually the mic.
Hey.
Oh no!
Kiss the camera.
Oh God! What a shambles!
What the hell?
Okay.
There we go. That's the right.
Are you
mic
in
now.
having a party?
It's all good. We're good. We're good.
No.
Sorry, you said about.
Are you actually drunk?
Yeah. I'm fucking...
It does seem that way.
My head hurts.
So what was your
Right, go on,
question?
what was your
Something
question?
Any
about-
particular reason?
No. Just... I wanted to have some good beer, so...
If your head hurts now, just wait till tomorrow.
You got leffe?
Yeah.
Just drink a glass of water or two.
Or 10.
Yeah, maybe I will. I should.
One moment.
With a headache.
Okay, Dad.
Hey, real quick, did anybody see the moon last night?
Is the moon out now? Can anyone see it?
I certainly had
Yeah,
reports.
it was out last. It was
Yeah.
out last night here in California. It was just beginning to wax, and the color was dark orange because of the fires that are out here.
Oh, cool. Did you get any shots?
I didn't. I was en route, and it came out because the smoke was obscuring the sky for most of the night, so that when I did see it, it was too late. But it'll be out tonight, and I'll be up in the foothills of California, so hopefully I'll be a little bit farther away, and I'll try to get some shots.
So how long has it been since you last saw the moon?
3 days.
It was 3.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Bit of a problem if you believe that we live on a spinning ball with the moon that orbits us, because it can't go missing. It's supposed to be in the sky, guys.
Oh, what I did yesterday morning, when I was leaving Baltimore, I did take a picture of my sky app, and the moon was up in the sky in the early morning at probably a 30 to 40 degree angle from the sun. So I'll have to try to put that stuff together and do a short presentation just for the record.
Before the first show, which will get premiered on my second show, subscribe today, link in the info box. You were talking about the fires, so how are you getting on?
Well, right now it's just hazy. It's I'm right near the Pacific Coast Highway where they've blocked off the southern route. You can't drive down there because the fires are right up to the highway, I suppose. But yeah, it's just hazy.
Okay.
Where I'm at, there's no threat right now. There'd be no way for the fires to get to where we are because there's nothing to burn.
But can you see them? Can you see them, though?
It's all development.
Can you see the fires?
Not from where I'm at, no. There's a huge mountain, a huge foothill range between me and the fires. So the only way would be if the fires came up over the foothills. But there's nothing substantial there to burn right now.
Certainly, I've been around high event horizon. I've been around when there's been an active volcano and there's been like ash all over my car and everything else for that matter. Is it the same when there's fires?
Say that again.
You get ash on everything?
I'd have to look at my sister's cars to see if she's got anything there, but the Santa Ana winds are blowing right now, so we're getting a lot of the eastern winds blowing west, and it'll just take it straight out to the ocean, I'm sure.
Right. That dynamic system that we live in.
Okay. Now then, I drank some water. It didn't really do anything. I mean, I still feel dizzy.
No. The water is for your headache later on when you have to recover.
Okay. Thank you. So, what is this stuff about aperture? Does aperture dictate how far you can see in the distance?
No, it dictates the diffraction limit. The point that you will get something going from 1 pixel to no pixels, and the in-between stage when you see it split into 2. That weird effect is diffraction, and that's at the camera end. So it kind of bugs me when people are like, oh, we're seeing diffraction over there on the ocean at that island or whatever. No, the diffraction limit is this end, it's the camera end, and that's dictated by the aperture of the camera. Now, I recently found out, I don't know if you know this, Anthony, the P900 and the P1000 have the same aperture. Did you know that? Yeah,
I thought the aperture was the size of the hole that the light passes through.
Correct. And it's the same on both cameras, as far as I can tell when I researched it.
Oh, so the only difference is the glass size?
Well, not the glass, the hole. The aperture's the hole.
Yeah, I know, but the lens is physically bigger on the P1000, right?
Well, yeah, the lens. That'll give you a better zoom, but the diffraction limit...
design.
Say again.
It's a the P9000 has a different optical design compared to the P1000.
Correct. I mean, it's got a totally different zoom setup, but ultimately speaking, the aperture is the same, and the aperture is what dictates the diffraction limit of that camera.
So the aperture determines the resolving power of the lens, the resolution, the lines per millimeter it can resolve.
Sort of. So if you take Ranty's images of the egg and the ring, how that image is made up, what it looks like in terms of how much refraction effects, as they were formerly known, you're seeing with the mirage below the egg and the Buddha, and how much stretching you'll get, that's all down to the aperture. So if he was doing that exact same thing with the P900 and 1000 next to each other, I would expect to see a bigger image on the P1000, but the actual effect would be the same on both cameras because the aperture's the same. You just see more of it. You could zoom in more and see a bigger picture from the P1000.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. I'm gonna get out of here for the day. I'm gonna go out with the family. I'm gonna take a ferry to go to another piece of the Gulf over here in Texas. I'm gonna take my P900, make some observations, upload a little bit of footage later, and then see the magic that I will catch with the P900 and share it with you, all of you guys.
Cool, man.
Thanks, Jose.
See you later, dude.
See you, buddy.
Adios.
Later, man.
Did anybody see the
Watch
latest?
Coriolis Force not spitting you off the earth.
Did anybody see the latest infrared footage from? Is it JT Media? I've forgotten the full name of his channel. Hey, Peanuts.
Tolan Media.
That's it. 750 miles plus.
Yeah, he did one. His other one prior to that was 1,000 miles plus. It was the Hudson.
Knocking it out of the park, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's still more on still. I mean, I don't. It doesn't. He's under promoted, that guy, because I don't know how you can look at that and think that you're looking at a sphere. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so about going back to Aperture, I have two lenses with the same focal length. One Vivitar third-party lens and one Canon high-quality lens. And I set both of them to the same aperture, let's say f4. The Canon lens will be sharper than the Vivitar lens. So I think optical quality is more important than the aperture.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, if you've got a fuzzy picture, you're not going to see the diffraction limit being breached. So if you had a poor quality lens for the images of the Isle of Man, for instance, yeah, it might be the case that you're seeing that mirage of the Morgord lighthouse below itself. But if it's all fuzzy and you can't make it out, then it's all for nothing, right? So yeah, optical quality is critical. Hey, those people at the bottom of this aisle don't seem to have any feet. What's going on?
I'm patting Rumpus in chat. It's doable.
Can you raise up? Is it Peanuts? Just raise up because you've got some people down at the bottom. Oh no, it's all gone blurry.
Somebody's Skype calling you.
Anthony. Not me. Here we go. Now he's in sharp focus. Let's see what happens. Oh, semi-sharp focus.
I'm thinking about this.
This kid's getting smaller and disappearing from the bottom up. Must be curve.
So I wonder what keeps the sun rotating around the equator.
It's got all that background noise. Is that you, Travis?
What?
Just pop yourself on mute.
Because if the sun is just like hydrogen gas coming from the Earth, and then it finally gets high enough and joins the rest of the sun, what keeps it rotating around the equator? Well, is it the moon? They're sort of connected, do you think? Or I was thinking about that last night. What's holding the sun in place? Or why does it keep spinning rather than just like going in a direction somewhere?
It's R-based architecture, dude. Come on.
What?
It's R-based architecture.
No, I'm talking about if it is a flat plane, right? And the sun is rotating in a certain spot. So what's keeping it in that spot?
Who knows? No idea what the sun is. Good question.
What spot? It's only a visual. It's a virtual visual phenomena. So it is not in a spot. It's not being kept anywhere. It's not an object.
Think it's it could be a hydrogen bubble in the sky?
Absolutely not.
Well,
Why not?
absolutely not. We've got no way of knowing either way. It's one of a million possibilities, Arwen.
It's inapproachable. No, I disagree. It's inapproachable. And all the evidences so far suggest that it is virtual. You can't approach it. You can't go straight forward to it and then it'll become bigger. Haven't seen any even remote evidence for that. Only in movies.
But where would all the hydrogen be then? If
It's not
hydrogen is
hydrogen.
lighter than air.
The hydrogen
and it's
has
going up
nothing to
into
do
the
with
sky,
it. Hydrogen has
going
nothing to
somewhere.
do with it.
Yes, it does, I think, Aaron. I don't think
Why?
you're.
Why?
I don't think
Why
you're
does
open enough
daylight
to
have
other
to do
people's
anything
ideas.
with hydrogen?
Because hydrogen is lighter than air. It's the lightest gas that we know of.
So
it's
how
probably
does
up
that
there with a
relate
bubble
to the
somewhere.
daylight? How does hydrogen transform into daylight? Let's go.
Well, if it gets to a certain, if it's high enough in the sky, it might just start to combust.
What?
Okay, hold on real
Why?
quick. Listen, just hold on real quick.
It's like the
Don't
Yeah, but
pressure holding
that
the
sense
molecules
the
together
entire
just isn't there anymore.
atmosphere would enflame if
All right,
that was
hold
possible.
on, just real quick. Who's talking?
Daniel
Who's
and
the guy
Arwen.
talking about hydrogen? Daniel?
I think
Daniel. Can you justify the facts that you're relying upon to say that there is a collection of hydrogen burning up in the sky? What are you basing this claim on?
Well, if I had to take the hydrogen, right, and I let it all out, where does it go? It goes up into the
Okay,
sky.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you a question. That phenomenon that we see in the sky that seems to be a circular yellow disc, sphere, whatever. How are
could be a
you
ball of hydrogen,
making the claim?
Like you don't
Okay,
have
I'm
to
asking
believe
you.
that the Earth is
Hold
a
on,
ball
Daniel. Hold on.
to think that the sun is still a ball of hydrogen.
Daniel, come on. Let Travis finish.
I'm trying to ask you a question. How are you
asking it
getting
pretty
from?
slow. I mean, just
Come
just
on,
ask
Daniel. Stop interrupting.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are. Let Travis
Alright,
finish
shut
his.
up.
Go, Travis.
Okay.
No, I mean like
Daniel, how are you?
It could be that.
Okay, Daniel.
That's a better
How are
explanation than
you?
it just being something.
What in the
Travis,
world, dude?
go.
Shut
Go,
up.
Travis.
Shut up, Daniel.
Go.
How are you moving from observing a yellow circle in the sky to that is a hydrogen bomb fusion burning in the sky? How do you make one leap from one to the other?
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, sorry, Daniel, I muted you because you can't interrupting. Please unmute yourself and respond to the question.
Yeah, please don't mute people in the Hangout. If they're going to interrupt, just let them interrupt. You're on mute at the moment, Daniel.
You have to unmute yourself by clicking on the red microphone icon at the top of your screen.
Correct.
Did you get the question, Daniel?
What was the last question?
The question that's been put to you by Plain Truth is, how do you go from circle of yellow in the sky to burning ball of hydrogen?
Well, there's a lot of hydrogen coming from the Earth, and I thought it's probably going somewhere. And everybody knows that, like, that's the lightest gas. So I was just thinking about it. So, I mean, if you guys think it's like a ridiculous thought, then that's okay. But
Right. So you're thinking it's like the sun is like a vacuum cleaner for hydrogen. Just
well, what
hanging
really
there.
made me think of it was when you guys were talking about, you know, there being a bubble in a vacuum. And I was thinking about something different. Like, what if the sun was just a big bubble of gas sitting up there
Yeah,
burning?
but how could it be that? There's entropy. How would
Yeah,
that
but-
bubble just sit there in a ball shape? That doesn't make
Well,
any
the-
sense.
If you do release gas into, so if you release a lighter gas into a denser gas, it probably would collect. So there would be like, you
Yeah,
wouldn't be
and
able
it
to
would
see it,
move
but
upwards. That's the only direction it's going to move up. That's it. How
upwards
does that
until it gets high
explain
enough
an
where
arc
it can't
of a
go up
ball
any-
of
like,
light? How does that explain the arc?
How
It
high
moves
up do you
upwards. That's
think
the only thing you get to
hydrogen
see.
goes, Arwen? Like, where does it stop going up?
Yeah, but how does that make any sense? Look, if you release a bubble of gas, that's fine. Yeah, it might cling to itself, but it's
Yeah.
only going to move up. It's only as long as it's actually allowed to move upwards. Otherwise, if it hits the ceiling, it will disperse horizontally.
There's a ceiling, you said?
No, just saying in general, if you release a huge quantity of hydrogen gas, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it will probably be in a bubble, move upwards. And if there's a ceiling in a way, it'll bump into it, spread out. And then, okay, yeah, if you release it in the open air, it might travel upwards. But that's the only thing it's going to do. It's
So
not
if
going to,
it-
it's
but how
not going
high
to
will
just
it go? I mean,
at some
if it
point
do-
just sit there and especially not like twirl around in an arc constantly. That doesn't make any sense. How
But that's what
could
the
that
sun
work?
does,
How,
Arwen. And
how
I mean,
could
you've
that do
seen
that?
the experiment with the egg, and you put enough salt in there to the point where the egg
Yeah, but
is in,
only up
like,
and down.
equilibrium.
It's not an arc. It's not an arc across the sky. How?
I know, Arwen.
Up
That was
and
what my
down.
first question is. What do you think the sun, like, why is the sun rotating around the equator? Like, what's keeping it in that rotation?
The pattern.
Okay,
Whatever is causing the light, it has a certain pattern, which is probably has a lot to do with
we've now
mirror
lost the
reflecting
point
systems.
though. Let's get back to the point of the fact that he said it has to go somewhere, so it's probably collecting. Okay, there's again, all that is speculation. You're simply speculating. You're simply being Aristophanes.
Travis, have
You're
you
simply
ever,
being Copernicus.
no, Travis, have you experimented with gases, different density gases, and how they
Yeah,
collect?
we've
I mean,
seen.
do you know, or you just?
Okay, have you ever experimented? Sure, I understand your question, but that does not then jump to the conclusion of a burning fusion ball. So the question is, okay, have you
No,
ever
I didn't say it
done
was a fusion ball.
observations?
That's not what I said.
Okay, a burning ball of hydrogen. How about that? Is that okay?
Well, that's what I said. So
So how does
Okay,
that
so
work?
hold on, Harwin, please hold on. Okay, so if you are postulating that the sun is a collection of hydrogen that is burning, and you are now asking me if I've ever observed gases collecting, are you telling me that you have observed gases collecting into the form of a sphere and then burning?
well, that's what
Have you?
bubbles are.
They're burning. They're on fire.
No, bubbles are collections of.
Okay,
Can
so
be a
here's
collection
my
of gas.
okay,
It
right
has a
here,
membrane, right? A
right.
bubble.
This is an
So-
issue. This is an issue of false equivalency. Okay, you're making a
You know, Travis,
connection
you
with.
don't even know what what you know about the sun is less than what I'm putting out there.
That's got nothing to do with anything,
No,
Daniel.
we know more. We recognize
know
certain
Okay, hold on.
elements.
Hold
We
on, Arwen.
recognize the real elements about it. You completely fantasize about all of it.
All right,
That's
Arwen,
the
please let me
difference.
just try
So
to have
we
a
do know more.
conversation. Arwen, please let me just try to have a conversation with Daniel. Again, Daniel, so here I've had conversations with heliocentrists who say, if I say to them, water doesn't bend, they say, well, what about a water droplet? And I say, are we talking about water droplets? No, we're not talking about bubbles, Daniel. We're not talking about bubbles. Is the sun a bubble? No?
It could
Then
be
why
a
are we
bubble.
talking? Okay, you say
It
it
could be a bubble
be.
of hydrogen gas. You don't know. There's
Okay,
no way to
that's
disprove
right.
it.
An ignited bubble. You're right.
Okay,
Makes a lot
listen,
of sense.
again, all you're doing is a thought exercise, an idea. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's Eratosthenes, that's Copernicus. All these guys were metaphysicists thinking about what possibly could be. That's it.
Yeah, but you could even replicate. You could create an experiment where you had.
Yeah, I have
Really? Do it.
I
Do
have
it.
no interest in doing that.
Well, you do it. You do it.
Okay.
You show
Yeah,
how a
that's-
burning
I'm-
ball of gas will sit happily in a bubble. Right?
Maybe
You
it
show
would.
it.
I've never tried to do
Go.
anything
Maybe
like
it
that.
would. Yeah,
Go.
maybe.
Go
This
for
is,
it.
Well,
this is
you would
just
start by
incredible.
trying to make bubbles of hydrogen in the liquid.
Go
Hey,
for it.
we've been joined by
But
Zinda.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you in
you guys are
advance.
just
Sorry, guys.
really
Hydrogen,
okay.
when
Sorry
you
to
actually
interrupt.
light it
Hello,
up,
Arwen.
tends
Hello.
to explode.
Hello. Hey, Zinda. How you doing?
I'm fine. You guys?
Good to have you.
How are you doing? Thank you.
The problem with hydrogen being lit up is it doesn't gradually burn like a bunch of coals. No, it actually explodes instantly. Boom. Especially if there's plenty of oxygen
at regular
around.
pressure. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
know
the
what
only time
how it
I've
burns at
ever
different pressures.
the only time I've ever read of possibly hydrogen gas being collected into a ball of fire is when Gandalf was up in the trees with the rest of the hobbits, and he was throwing fireballs down at the goblins that were coming up to catch those pesky little birds up in the tree.
No, but that's not gas based. That's actually.
No. It
but that's
was.
based in extra. That's extraplanar. That's electrostatic. You could call it.
No. I'm pretty sure it was a hydrogen ball that
Sorry, it
Gandalf
was
was
my geek.
throwing.
I had to do that.
Yeah, Daniel. Ultimately, we have to just come to, I suppose, an agreement that you are simply postulating an idea that you cannot verify, nor can you
I could
establish.
verify
Hold
it
on.
if I could
I'm trying to
replicate it.
finish my sentence, please.
I
You
know, but
can't
you're saying something that's not
Okay,
true.
no,
I mean,
I haven't
by
finished. You
designed an
cannot know what
experiment
I'm
that proved
saying.
or that
You
could
can't
show
know
it.
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying because I haven't finished what I said. Okay, or what I
yeah,
haven't
just
said.
cutting you off where you're wrong.
Right? Yeah. So you have no way of validating your idea, nor do you have any substance to propose your idea. You don't have an
there's substance
observation.
because hydrogen is being released from the Earth and it's going
Okay.
somewhere.
Yes. That has nothing
Right.
to do with your postulation that that hydrogen is collecting into a sphere that is then burning.
Well,
You
it
don't
sort of
have
just
any
makes sense to me. Like
substantial
hydrogen can
basis to
burn.
make your
It can't.
claim. First
It
of all,
could
you
be,
don't
is
have
what
any
I'm saying. Like,
substantial basis to
what
make
if
your
it was
claim.
like this?
Secondly, you have nothing to validate your claim. Two things. You can't substantiate your claim and you can't validate your claim.
Right.
Are you agreeing with me? You just said right. Are you agreeing with me?
No.
Okay, then please substantiate your claim that you can have a burning ball of hydrogen anywhere. Self-perpetuating, by the way.
What do you mean self-perpetuating?
Well, it's an endless supply of
well, see,
of
this is the
burning
thing, Travis.
ball of hunk of love.
You have selective hearing because I started off by saying the hydrogen is being released from the ground and it's going up. So that's where
Okay, yes, but you seem to have selective hearing as well because you have no way of proving that hydrogen is going to the sun. It could be going up from the earth. Yeah, sure.
Going up
Okay.
into the sky, you idiot. Where do you think it's ending up?
I am not disputing that, Daniel. I'm not disputing that. What I'm disputing is that your hydrogen is thereby somehow
No, I
going
think
to the
Travis said you
sun.
should actually just listen to people's ideas a little bit more before you just want to go on the total opposite side
All
of it
right,
all.
I'm willing to be corrected. Does anybody on the panel think that what Daniel just said about my attitude is correct?
No.
No. I'd like Daniel to
Did I hear?
explain himself clearer.
I heard one no. Does anybody else? Sustain what Daniel said?
No, I want Daniel to explain himself clearer.
It appears you might be wrong again, Daniel.
Wrong about what? An idea of what the sun could be?
No,
It's
your
just wrong.
accusation of the fact. No, your accusation of the fact. Again, see, you're missing the point. You're not even listening to me. You just made a statement about my attitude where
No, because
I'm
Travis,
not listening
multiple
to.
times you're putting words in my mouth. Like I said, it could be a burning ball of hydrogen, right? Then you said, "Oh, it's Daniel's saying it's just a fusion bomb up in the fucking sky." Like what?
No swearing, please.
Calling it to the standard rhetoric. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I was just using standard rhetoric. I wasn't trying to put words into your mouth. So fine. Go back to a burning ball of hydrogen.
Well,
Fine.
The supply of it would be just the hydrogen being released from the ground. Like it comes
Okay,
from everywhere.
what evidence do you have that the hydrogen that's being released from the ground is coalescing into that ball? Are you just assuming that it's got to go somewhere? Does it all go to it? Does some of the hydrogen go to it? Does 25% of the hydrogen go to it? Does all of the hydrogen released from the Earth go to the sun? 100% to fuel. If I breathe it, what?
Right. Okay. I mean, if this is how you want to argue with people or conversate, that's you, Travis. It's just
conversate. Okay.
You're just not very open to other people's ideas, I believe. Like it just.
Oh, really?
Well,
really?
what's your like? Do you even think about the sun and what it is? Like, what do you think it is? Some light in the sky. It's not actually
there's no way for me to
physically connected
validate
to the Earth below it.
There's no way for me to validate anything that I could speculate, Daniel.
Yeah, well, at least I'm putting an idea out there. I don't care if you guys don't like it or not. It's just an idea.
Right, sure. Okay, that's fine. And I have no interest in ideas that can't be validated or even substantiated. You still haven't substantiated.
I think what I came up with isn't too far from like being able to validate.
Right, and my statement to you is that's exactly what Eratosthenes and Copernicus did. When they looked up in the sky and made observations, they had no clue what they were looking at, and so all they did was speculate. That speculation is now mainstream science with no validation whatsoever.
Well, in my idea, at least there's a supply of fuel for the sun.
Why is this hydrogen not going to the moon? The moon's closer. It's got a gravitational pull of its own. Why is the hydrogen not going to the moon?
Hold on, Event Horizon. So, Daniel, are you actually just speculating this, or are you actually trying to tie it into the mainstream narrative with the distances to the moon and sun in place?
Well, I don't believe that we're on a ball or anything like that. I'm just trying to think about where the energy from the sun comes from.
Okay. So, does that answer your question, Event Horizon? Because I don't think he's obeying those sort of rules in terms of how far the sun is.
That's fine.
All
right, so I'll just do a quick follow-up.
Power or energy from the sun is coming from. Like, what's your thought on it?
No idea.
You just have no idea.
Answering. Absolutely no idea. I have no idea what the sun is. Neither of you. You can speculate all you like. It's one of 1,000 options. I'm not saying it's wrong. Definitely isn't confirmed as being right. Anybody else know what the sun is? Anybody else? Who knows what the sun is? Hands up.
I haven't got a clue.
No, I don't. But isn't there a method to see what the sun is made of by looking at its light?
Well, spectroscopy, you mean?
Spectroscopy or something?
Spectroscopy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. or is it just speculating or like assuming things?
Well, yeah. So have you not heard my transsexual spectroscopy example?
Is it affirmative consequent?
Yeah.
I like this example. So you're standing across a lake and you've got your P900 and you look across the lake, and what you see on the other side is what appears to be a beautiful woman in a dress. Long flowing hair, nice dress, high heels, the full shebango. And from that position, you've got to decide whether or not you're going to marry that woman. Yeah? So you can't physically touch her. You've only got what you see in the P900. So you get out some equipment and you start testing the air and seeing if there's any pheromones in the air or whatever. And you get all sorts of readings and you assess them. And then you decide that, yeah, it's definitely a woman. And then you go over and meet her. And what do you know? She's got a cock. So,
did she start out with that, or
assessing things based on visual only is step one in the scientific method. Make an observation of a phenomena, right? Then you try and establish the cause of the phenomena. Well, all that astronomy can do is observe phenomena. They can't establish the cause of that effect. They can just speculate, and that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Just speculating.
Yeah, we can't interact with those objects. Even in a heliocentric model, we can't go to the stars and see how they look. We just can watch those from Earth and speculate what those are and see what those are most likely with the methods we have right now. But I know you can't test it for yourself. I agree.
Well, so it's fine, speculation, logical deduction, that's all we've got. But that doesn't prove it is what anybody asserts it is. And without that, I can only say I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know either. I just can repeat what astronomers say, or I can choose to believe them, or I can choose to say, I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean,
more power to those who want to believe. The fusion reactor, or whatever they class it to be, hydrogen being fused into helium, being fused into ever more heavy metals, and then eventually that will burn out, die, implode, and create gold, which will fly out into all of the known universe and eventually coalesce with all the other metals because of gravity. You can believe all that shite if you want to.
But it is a beautiful concept, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely. I thought it was amazing. I remember watching.
It's great for movies.
Yeah, I remember. Well, not even movies. I remember watching Gold Rush, just like a like a fly on the wall documentary series where they're just going and watching people dig gold out of the ground. And at the time, I was well into the heliocentric belief, and how gold was formed in the center of dying stars was just so romantic an idea. They dig, it flies out into space when the star explodes and coalesces, and then they dig it out of the ground when it's been forced up through various different effects of the ground and evolution, time, and all the other magical things that go along with these explanations for how gold comes into existence. Well, it's born in the dying heart of a star. Wow, isn't that amazing? Total bullshit. Made up. Nobody knows that to be true. But that's the current narrative.
Well, they cover it really well. I mean, I don't know how easily accessible the data is that these space agencies produce, but they do a really good job in covering this thing. I mean, I think those are thousands of terabytes they produce every day. And I don't know if I could access these data even. I mean, I couldn't understand the data, of course. I couldn't do anything with it because I don't have the knowledge. But yet they claim to have a lot of proof, So many people believe it because they can't really disprove this data in a certain way. You can't just say the data is fake or generated. but you can't look at the data and say why and what exactly is wrong with it, right?
No.
So,
you can definitely tag that it's not science and that they're not establishing causes of anything, and all they have is observing phenomena. They can observe phenomena all day long. But I just want to answer Pete Shea in the chat. He says, so what's gold? Well, gold is the debris, the remains, the leftovers of a dying star. So these metals get fused, according to the mainstream narrative as it stands, in the heart of a supernova.
Yeah, I never fully understood the process of supernovas. I mean, I know that as they say, the element it burns the element, it fuses them until it becomes iron. So iron can't be fused in a star anymore because it's too heavy. And this is like the dead end, and then it starts to the gravity starts to take over, and it pulls everything inside, and then it explodes again, and then it pulls inside again, and then you have a supernova. But never understood the process of it. Maybe it's a little bit too much for me to understand it, or maybe it's just bullshit. I don't know.
Well, it's total bullshit. It's the same as Thea. So if you go and have a look at what they currently accept as the explanation for how the moon formed, there was a planet circling the sun in the heliocentric model, of course, and it's on an ever closing trajectory with Earth, and eventually it strikes Earth at a glancing blow and deposits its own molten iron core into Earth, which is why we have such a large core that's still warm even after millennia. So that's the story. This planet called Thea smashes into Earth, doesn't destroy it, but hits it a glancing blow, and the debris, the top layer of Earth, is smashed off, as are the remains of Thea, apart from the molten iron core in Thea, which coalesces with Earth, and the remains come together to form the moon. That's how, according to the current narrative, the moon was formed. Now, there's absolutely zero evidence to back that story. That's all it is. It's just a story. But that's the current story for how the moon came into existence. Bullshit. Just made up. Just a story.
Yeah.
Same with how gold is formed in stars. Just a story.
What I don't really understand is, I mean, we have uranium on Earth. This is a really, really heavy material, right? So why is there iron in the middle? Why isn't there like uranium in the center? Because it's one of the heaviest, and then like
I think it's
later iron, or I don't really understand it.
Well, that's because of the heavy.
The heaviest element in the middle of the Earth.
Better. This is the heavy bombardment. So when the Earth was first formed, it was entirely molten. It's being formed from great big collisions during the heavy bombardment, and it develops as a consequence of that a molten iron core. It's not like the sun's version of this where it's fusing things into ever heavier materials. What we're left with in their version of what was space is all these particles which will eventually coalesce through gravity. Those particles having been formed in the heart of a dying star at some stage when it's gone supernova and blasted out throughout the galaxy, and eventually gravity's caused it to coalesce. But in that process you end up with the planet having a molten iron core that slowly cools. Now, according to their narrative, it should have cooled a long time ago, and then you have enter Thea, with its own core added to ours, so we have an extra big core keeping us nice and toasty.
Yeah. I thought the inside of the Earth is still hot because the radioactive decay of radioactive elements, which produces heat. I thought this was the official explanation why it's still so warm inside the Earth. I didn't know that it is just so that it was hot before and still is being hot after 4.5 billion years. I mean, this is a really long time, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got time machines. They went back and validated it. Anyway, Pete Shea, I'm going to read out his comment. Normally his mumblings are totally incoherent, but on this occasion they're not. A dying star, Aristarchus, is described as the depicted tree of line gold AU is actually material from veins of the giant chrysalis tree. Is that right? Aristarchus aura. I'll probably butchered that. It's a bit fuzzy for me on my screen. Yeah, okay, P. First time that you've had a rambling that actually seemed to make some sort of coherent sense with the subject at hand. Jolly good. There's a gap on the panel if you want to talk and expand on that, Pete, rather.
Yeah, so the reason, the official explanation why we have gold on the surface of the Earth, as you said, is because it was added later after the Earth formed with asteroids and comets crashing into Earth, bringing those materials. Because otherwise, all the heavy elements wouldn't be accessible for us. They would be in the middle of the Earth. Because, as we know, heavy things tend to go down when Earth is still liquid or fluid. If it is true, then in the middle should be also gold inside the molten iron core.
No, the pressures aren't high enough. So in order to achieve this, I can't believe I'm just parroting the narrative, man. It makes me feel a bit sick. But yeah, the pressures that are created when it goes supernova are what is necessary according to the narrative to make gold come into existence. So you wouldn't necessarily just have it at the center of Earth in their bullshit molten iron core. It's got to be when the sun implodes and then explodes. Supernova.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about gold was created. I was talking about the dust that at the end Earth was created from. So the Earth was created by this gravitational pull, etc. And so heavy elements that already were there, like gold and iron and so on, started to sink towards the middle of the Earth because it was still molten, according to the heliocentric model. So my assumption was then that gold and heavy elements should be in the middle of the Earth, not that they were created in the Earth itself, but that they could sink toward it.
No,
right?
So the reason the sun has them at the center is because of that being part of the process of it fusing the elements together and them getting heavier and heavier and going towards the center. Whereas, as you rightly point out, in the narrative of the heliocentric model, you've just got them all being coalesced. So yeah, they're all in not in equal parts, but they're all equally dispersed until they coalesce. So yes, you've got equal amounts of gold dispersed amongst the iron and whatever other elements you've got that are making the original formation of Earth in the heliocentric religion. But that coalescence of those materials doesn't mean that they'd automatically push the heavier elements to the bottom. And I can't remember the exact way the narrative explains how they get to the top, but through a process of the evolution of Earth's crust, they work their way to the top, and then rivers and all that sort of stuff.
But Nathan, you know that's nonsense. We know that's nonsense, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Of course it's nonsense. I'm just parroting the narrative. Like I say, there is a little bit of sick in my throat as I do it.
So you did a terrible job at reading out my comment there, but really what my point was within this narrative that we are told, can there be any truth gleaned? In other words, is a greater story being told through the fabrication? Now, if I was to ask you, which was my original question, we know what gold isn't then. We know what the Earth isn't. When it comes to what it is or what it may be, have you any idea? That's what I wanted to know.
No idea. I mean, they tell us what's on the very, very, very thin top layer and the quantities and therefore the averages. But that's all we got to go on, right?
Right, but you still have an active mind yourself and you're about the truth. So when I write what I write here, it's because I've been trying to figure out what's going on. And when I mentioned Aristarchus in a hyphenated fashion, it was to especially draw attention to the star in the middle. We are stardust. We are told all these heavier metals come from the center of dying stars. And what I'm trying to say to you is that this is a sort of a metaphor telling us or giving us clues anyway as to what gold actually is, or who we actually are, or what the Earth actually is, or what the sun actually is, or what a star actually is. And as you know, I bring everything back to Aristarchus. But I know it's not just me as well. So you might laugh and scoff at Aristarchus, but it is a real feature in this reality, whatever it may be, because it features so prominently, especially on the moon. So that's where I'm coming from. And it does take a little bit of thinking to try and understand it. But I certainly do come from the point of view that the story is already known. We are just now rediscovering it. So we can apply everything that's been told to us as gospel truth from the nonsense science men in a different sense. We needn't throw it out completely. We can, for the best part, reverse it and we'll become closer to it.
I wasn't mocking you in the slightest, actually, Pete. Just to make that absolutely clear, when I read out your comment, I read it because I thought it was justified reading. But what you're suggesting is the narrative that Neil deGrasse Tyson gives. Literally, I've heard him discuss this in these terms: that we are born of the heart of stars, us people. We are made from that material. Therefore, we were originated from the heart of a dying star, and therefore originated from nothing, the Big Bang, everything from nothing. That's where our origins lie, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson in his lectures. And what you're saying is, well, how can we extract truth from that? Maybe there is none.
Well, I say there is. I say Neil deGrasse Tyson, or Neil deGrasse Tyson, a prominent creator on the moon, is spinning a yarn, and it's up to us not to take it literally. It's like the Bible. If you take it literally, you're lost. Whereas if you interpret it and apply it, I guess, to your own story, then I think there's great progress to be made. For instance, when Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about the Earth being an oblate spheroid, I take it that he's telling the truth, just not in the sense that we interpret it. The Earth is flat, and for me, it's the shape it takes, the form it takes, defined by the sun's path, is oblate spheroid, flattened down though, in the form of a rugby ball, your own country's premier game. But in regards to stardust, yeah. So if we come from the heart of dying stars, we have to ask, well, what was a star before it died? So therefore we came from the heart of a living star, in one sense, you know what I mean? And when I talk about Aristarchus, in the sense that I talk about it, or I sort of am coming to understand it more, it's not just everything without. The sun is Aristarchus. You're dealing, when you were looking at the luminaries, and again, just from me, Nathan, and anyone else out there, and I'm claiming to know everything, or it's just where I'm coming from and expressing that. But when we look at the luminaries, we're looking at a light show. So fundamentally, if you take the opposite again of what the likes of Neil deGrasse Tyson tell us, and maybe consider it, instead of an infinite number of luminaries, maybe we have one luminary which is just reflecting in a sort of an infinite manner, if we can sort of make that juxtaposition. So that's what I would be trying to decode it in that sense, and I would encourage everybody else to at least consider it. I mean, we know that the Earth is spinning ball Earth is nonsense, and that's fine and dandy. But where does that leave us then?
I'm going to have to round out this show. It will continue on the after show, which will get published later. So I'll plug that first and foremost. So at 4 a.m. UK time, or 0400 GMT, this show will get rebroadcast with the after show, which will continue once I end this live broadcast. So be sure to check that out at 4 a.m. But immediately, I'll put a link in the chat box. There is the first show rerunning with a live chat. So if you weren't up in time to catch the first show, you can see that on my second channel. Click the link either in the info box below this video or on the chat that I posted just before coming on camera. So yes, and with that, I will say first and foremost, though, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do, but if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. Also massive thanks to all who hit the super chat. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!